Hello, welcome to IDDTalks. My name is Anastasia Laurina, and today we have a very special guest joining me now from Hungary, Gladden Pappin, President of the Hungarian Institute of International Affairs. Warm welcome to our program.
It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. On 1st July, Hungary took over the rotating presidency of the Council of the European Union, with a term lasting until the end of this year. Hungary unveiled the motto, "Make Europe Great Again," as a step line for its upcoming 6 months presidency. How exactly Hungary is planning to do it? Could you provide an overview of the policy and the plans of Budapest?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, the presidency of the Council of the European Union is sometimes a poorly understood position, but it's quite important in terms of shaping the debates in Brussels, in directing traffic within European institutions, so to speak, and in contributing to the internal processes. A different country has this rotating presidency for a 6-month period. So Hungary has the rotating presidency for the next 6 months, and the Hungarian government and representation in the EU intends to use that to highlight the biggest and most important strategic challenges facing Europe. Basically, there has been a lack of strategic discussion in Europe in recent years. A lot of decisions have been made without thinking through the consequences. The energy sanctions, for example, after 2022, which led to a significant rise in energy prices for ordinary European homes, Europe's participation in the Russian-Ukrainian war in various ways. Many of these things were done without a clear strategy or a clear discussion. So Hungary has picked the idea and the topic of European competitiveness as a framework for approaching the next 6 months. We're going to try to evaluate everything from how Europe can regain its status as a competitive world power. It used to be the number 2 most important economy in the world after the US. That's China now. Europe really can't afford, in fact, the whole world can't afford to see Europe slide. And so we want to use this opportunity to put that topic on the agenda and to look at all of the related issues, such as migration, such as the war, and such as all the other things that go into to making Europe a peaceful, competitive, prosperous, secure place.
Right. Well, the migration, that's another key issue where Hungary is trying to take more precise position within the term of its presidency. Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, announced in Vienna just recently the creation of Patriots for Europe, a new far-right alliance in the European Parliament. We know about the winery of the far-right parties in several countries in the European Parliament elections. Therefore, how the changes within the European Parliament can also affect the presidency of Hungary. Your personal opinion on this issue?
Well, we don't think of this as a far-right alliance. Actually, in the manifesto of the Patriots for Europe, there's a new idea that the main difference between European parties is not actually whether they're right or left, but whether they are in favor of national sovereignty or in favor of leaving the sovereignty of nation states behind and folding the nation states into a European superstate. So Hungary is on the side of nation states. The parties that have joined thus far, including the FPÖ from Austria and the ANO from the Czech Republic, are similarly minded parties, and there will be more coming. So in the recent elections at the beginning of June for the European Parliament, there was overall more of an expression from ordinary European people that migration had become a problem in Europe, that there needs to be greater attention on national sovereignty and on peace, and this was manifested and a slight tilt to the right in terms of many parties. So, for example, in France, where the French president Emmanuel Macron has ended up calling a snap election within France due to the poor result that his party achieved on the European level. There are a lot of issues that always go into European politics. The European Parliament is not like an ordinary parliament. Oftentimes there are different local and national motivations for the vote that one sees. But in general, we feel that the voice of European people has not been reflected in the leadership decisions out of Brussels. And so the Hungarian presidency is an opportunity to reinforce, as I said, primarily the discussion of competitiveness as a framing issue. So that's basically the mindset, as far as I understand it, of the current Hungarian approach.
Right. Dr. Pappin, Hungary holds EU enlargement to the Western Balkans as a core policy or strategic priority for both its interests and the interest of the Union. Then how do you see this policy in this direction within the next 6 months?
The European Union has become more ideological in recent years and less focused on clear and merit-based rules. So the basic Hungarian approach is to restore the merit-based approach to European Union accession. Countries that are in the process of or beginning the process of joining the European Union should be given the clear guidelines, and there should be clear steps by which they meet them and progress on the accession path. This has become more politicized in Brussels in recent years, and they've slowed down the accession of the Western Balkan countries while beginning to fast track, for example, the accession of Ukraine. So Hungary is basically in favor of a return to this more merit-based approach. It's strategically important for Europe too, because there's much opportunity in the Western Balkans, these 6 countries that have been waiting to join, which are in the neighborhood of Hungary as well. This is important from the standpoint of competitiveness, of migration, of security. You know, it's a very complicated region that has always had lots of conflict, and the process of joining the European Union is intended to bring new opportunity to make the Western Balkan region also more interconnected, since it's lagging in that respect. So it's very important from the Hungarian viewpoint, but it's not an exclusive thing only for the Western Balkans. This is a generally important thing that the European Union focus on merit.
Some more about objectives. What are the main objectives Hungary aims to achieve during its presidency?
Well, I think the main goal is to achieve a new competitiveness pact, and this means looking at the things that would make Europe a competitive economy. The lack of cheap energy in recent years has posed a challenge for European companies. Of course, Hungary has begun a good cooperation with Azerbaijan in particular to bring more natural resources from the South Caucasus region and Central Asia into the European market. So that's a very important aspect. But also businesses have been challenged sometimes by some aspects of the green transition. Of course, this is something that Hungary, like everyone else, wants to see happen, but it needs to happen in a measured way that's good for businesses. So the regulatory environment needs a refresher or a review. But most importantly, there needs to be a European conversation about what goes into having a competitive European Union. And with that, and with the competitiveness pact, which hopefully will come out of that discourse and discussion later this fall, with that, I think we will see a very successful Hungarian presidency.
Well, but we shouldn't forget about disagreements which still exist among the member states of the European Union when it comes to some domestic or foreign policy issues. Therefore, how does Hungary plan to foster collaboration and consensus among member states during its presidency?
Well, Hungary, according to the announcements around the beginning of our presidency, wants to be an honest broker and a trusted partner in leading this important position within the European Union in the next few months. This is a time during which Hungary will articulate what Hungary's European vision is. You know, oftentimes in the international media, Budapest and Brussels are presented as being at odds and always disagreeing. And that has often been the case in recent years. But this is not because Hungary is an anti-European or anti-EU country, far from it. In fact, we think that the recipe for Hungarian success for Hungary's recipe for European success hasn't been sufficiently well discussed at the European level. And so we're very excited in the next few months for this presidency to be an opportunity, frankly, more so than other presidencies in recent years. This is one that's going to be distinctive, and so I think there's much to watch.
Well, then we have to understand how Hungary is planning to balance its domestic priorities with the responsibilities within the European Union presidency.
Yes, well, Hungary's a domestic success story, and we think aspects of that success are relevant for the European Union level as well. So Hungary has made a combined strategy to be in favor of peace, but also to have a very strong defense industry. So we want a better economic situation in Europe to enable a more successful defense strategy. Again, Hungary has had a policy against mass migration, and I think we would like to see Europe begin to think more about the sources of migration, the economic development that's needed and the security improvements that are needed in parts of the world that are prone to large and sometimes sudden outmigration. So that's basically what we're looking to do. Demography is another area where Hungary has paid a lot of attention in recent years, particularly with its pro-family policies. So how to be both a country that fosters a solid family life, that's also modern, that's also industrially successful, devoted to national defense, and in favor of cooperation with as many partners as we can find. That's what Hungary has been aiming at. And so in this respect, I think that there's a way that the Hungarian domestic concerns and the issues at the European level can go together.
Dr. Pappin, should we expect any changes in the position of the European Union Council and the European Union in general towards the situation in the South Caucasus, in particular towards Armenia and Azerbaijan during the presidency of Hungary?
Well, according to the Hungarian guidebook or the official Hungarian program for the presidency, the goal is to build on the new EU Central Asia strategy of 2019 and primarily to focus on strengthening areas of trade and economic relations, energy security, connectivity, and common security challenges. So this will involve seeking to use Hungary's expertise and connections with this region to enhance European cooperation with countries of the South Caucasus as a whole. So energy security, regional stability, developing trade routes. These are all the areas that, according to the official program of the Hungarian presidency, will be the areas of focus there. So as you know, Hungary and Azerbaijan have extremely close cooperation. This has involved security cooperation, defense cooperation, trade, energy, cultural, mutual understanding. I had a very nice visit there just a few months ago. And so this partnership that already exists on a bilateral basis, I think will also be an important way that Hungary can enhance the understanding of the issues in the region and to highlight the importance of the region for the EU as a whole.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining our program today.
Thank you very much indeed.